And here's a question that brings up: did Robin? It says here they're back in Rockford, and Robin's there, and she's 5 months pregnant with Adam.
Wow.
But she didn't go on tour with him, so she must have flown back to join him
Probably.
and then flown
Probably the
home.
story. Yeah.
Just
Stayed a while.
as a good wife and soon-to-be mother.
Yeah.
She needed to go see her hubby. So yeah, so on 7-2 to 7-4, low ET, the whole thing. 7-9, we're talking the next weekend. First round match race, Surfers versus Don Perdome. And you can see in this photo, in this picture right here, Don Perdome is making, he's on this side over here, he's making some flames,
Yeah.
but look at the flames of the Surfers. So Don is maybe up the percentage over the last few months, as everybody was at that time, but you guys are still running 100%, and you can see the flames way bigger. So that 100% is really showing itself. So it says the flames from the headers interfered with Mike's view of the starting line lights. So for the last 2 rounds, he lined up over next to the tree where he could get a better view of the lights. He red lighted in the first round because the flames were so big
that he couldn't see the lights.
Now that doesn't happen a lot. You know,
And it
so
was a nighttime deal too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he had to line up in a different spot to race, but he did beat Perdome the next 2.
Mm-hmm.
So he lost the first round because he couldn't see the lights, but he beat him the next 2.
This is a little calendar
Yeah. What's the calendar say?
that John made. How about some of the traveling those guys did? I mean, Rockford, Illinois.
Yeah.
A week later, Maple Grove, Pennsylvania.
Right.
The next day, Hartford, Connecticut. That's on Sunday. On the following Saturday, 6 days later, they're at Atco, New Jersey. The following day, they're at Great Meadows, New Jersey. On Sunday, the following Sunday, on the 24th, they're at Rocky Mountain Dragway in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
And then the following week after Denver was Continental Divide, and it's not too far from Denver.
Right.
But I mean, that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 events in 1 month
In 1
with
month.
a whole bunch of travel.
Four
Right.
travel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the Denver race,
Yes.
the promoter up there would invite name cars to come up and race their local hero. A guy who ran very well,
Alan
Alan
Bachman.
Alan
Bachman.
Bachla.
Right.
But the guys would come up from sea level and they'd have a car that wasn't really well suited for 5,000 feet because the
Right.
air's so thin.
Right.
And so when our turn came, we thought we're gonna see what we can do about not getting beat up. So we did a little add and subtraction and figured out that with that much air density, we needed to up the compression ratio X amount. Anyway, so we made a new short block and to go to Denver with. Anyway, we went up there and we beat the local hero and we set a new track record. And anyway, it worked out real
And
well.
normally the pistons at sea level, how far down in the hole did you have those pistons?
They were at least 300 thousandths down.
Okay. And then for this high altitude deal,
They were deck high, so they were 0 down. I mean, they were up even with the top deck of the engine block.
right?
So that's a big change in compression ratio. So anyway, that worked out real well. And so while they were there, the promoter walks over and says, "You guys got to stick around an extra week and come to my track and race the local hitter there, right?" Okay, fine. So the following Sunday, they go to Continental Divide Raceway, and the local hero just beat him up.
Hmm.
And they wouldn't have tried, I know you had a combination, but they wouldn't have tried to overdrive in the blower more to make up for it or anything like that. Did you guys,
They
did you
probably
guys ever try that
they
kind of
pro- they
stuff?
rarely, but they probably tried some of that stuff. But
They weren't around long enough to really find that right combination for that car, right?
yeah, I mean, how do you just pick one out of the sky?
Right.
Also with no pulley, no idler
We
pulley.
had no idler
You gotta
pulley.
have 40
True.
belts with
Oh,
you.
you'd have to
Oh,
have a
that's
bunch of
right.
belts,
That's a good point.
and you only
Right.
had those belts which nobody else had anyways.
Right.
And pulley combinations and
Yeah.
spacers and stuff. There was probably enough stuff in the trailer to do something
To do
with it,
something,
but maybe not. I don't know if it.
All right, now they've raced all over back east, and John brought up a good point and sent you an email, and I'll just give it to you. He looked through all the paperwork, and as you can see, not much racing in August after racing their brains out in July. And here's the email that was sent, and maybe if you can expound on why and what went on in August, why you guys didn't race much after racing, and then all of a sudden, basically nothing.
Well, Bob Skinner and I had decided that we needed to bail out of drag racing, and we had probably decided that maybe 3 months before we actually left, and right after the Indy Nationals in September, early September of 1966. So maybe in June or something. It's when we kind of came to the decision that we were going to, after the Indy Nationals, we'll just quit. You know,
Just go do something else.
yeah, there wasn't really much left to do, much more we could win. We just,
And you proved your experiment. You'd been running 100% for quite some time, and so what kept coming up was the same result.
yeah, and
Yeah,
we couldn't really move our program up a notch without being able to look somebody in the eye and tell them we'd do something, make them famous, or deal with sponsors. We
Sure.
didn't know how to.
Right.
We didn't have any
Didn't know
used
how,
cars.
didn't want to, and yeah.
We didn't have any used car salesman experience, and we didn't care. Anyway.
Well,
So I guess we did all that race, or they did all that racing back east in July, and then we freshened the thing up in August, and then the car headed towards Indy.
But on the way to Indy, they got invited to Oklahoma City. Phone call, whatever. Somebody stopped them and said,
Yeah, before they left,
Before they left.
Oklahoma City called
okay.
and said, "Why don't you guys stop here and give you a few bucks or whatever." And anyway, so the car, Bob and Mike went to Oklahoma City, ran the car, and the car was not running well. But I don't know what was wrong with it. And then they went on to Indianapolis. got beat in the first round by the Ram Chargers.
And do we have that picture we can show?
We do have that. This is right here.
So this would be the last run.
This
ever.
would be the very last run ever on the Surfer Mobile
car,
as the Surfer Mobile.
And we can see that the front wheels are up in the air on the Surfer Mobile and no smoke, so that indicates trouble.
Yeah, the engine obviously is not making very much power.
Right.
And it
Something-
lost fire. The thing here says Don Westerdale in the Ram Charger car ran 750 at 213 miles an hour, and Mike Sorokin lost fire. So at some point there, the car is ailing and it was over.
He might have just turned it off,
And he might
Yeah.
have just turned it off.
put it out of its misery.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the end of our dragster racing right there.
Wow.
Here is the next photo.
And that's in Drag News and
In Drag News,
and it's
right.
an ad.
In 9/16 of 1966.
Come get it.
Come get it. Here we are. We beat it up. We used it.
Yeah. Such a
We
deal.
made it famous. Come buy it.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people that called, right? That just knocking down your door trying to get that car, right?
And not a lot of people, but there was, I'm going to say there was 6, 7, 8 people contacted us, or different groups contacted us
Interesting.
about buying it. And then we wouldn't hear any more from them. You know, we'd maybe talk back and forth a little bit on the phone,
Right.
and then we didn't hear anything from them, and they just went quiet. So we thought, well, let's call them up and see why they don't want to buy it. And so we called up a couple of them, and they said, well, we know what you guys, how you guys operate. You aren't going to sell us the magic that makes that whole thing happen.
Wow.
And we know everything you got is junk. So all we're going to get is the junk and no magic. So we don't want to buy it. And 2 or 3 people told us the same thing, and we said, there you are.
Wow.
There it is.
So we ended up, we sold it to a local guy for not very much money. And all we did is we unbolted the yellow air scoop
Right.
off the top,
Right.
and we pushed it out the door. And they got the complete thing for, I don't remember how much it was.
Yeah, how much?